Hi there, welcome to another presentation of the Sound and Emotions Conference. Now we have Vickie Dodd. Hi, Vickie.
Hello.
Hi. Vickie Dodd pioneered the use of voice and touch as bodywork in the early 70s. From her beginning, she perceived the world through frequency, energetic fields of geometry, and color. This led to teaching others how to listen to themselves and use their voices to recapitulate the memories of and history that resides in their bodies. These teachings empower and educate the serious sound student to direct and evolve their emotional and physical maturation. She is the author of Tuning the Blues to Gold Sound Trance and has a new book, The Audible Body, that will be released in 2022. As director of Sound Body Productions, she lives in Port Angeles, Washington, and teaches in Europe, South America, and the US. She presents to online audiences worldwide. How you been?
Every which way, always,
You've been working on your new book for a
yes.
long time. It's about ready.
Yes, it is ready. It's with an agent and it's moving along. And
Tell
yeah,
us about it. What is it like 10 lifetimes in it?
yes, two lifetimes. And basically, I was trying to give the story of how I learned, and it was just through listening. And because I really do experience that sounding is more about the ability to listen than it is about our chops.
Uh-huh.
And um, and and so my first listening was with nature, and it goes on. It goes on about how alive nature is, and how it's really waiting for us to listen. You know,
Uh-huh.
our body.
So
Sorry.
it's interesting, there's when a lot of people talk about listening,
Mm-hmm.
and even in with the exercises for the kids, we have like six different types of listening where you can like perceive, you can get the energy behind the person from the person, you can do it analytically, whether it's perfect, you could do it. There's so many different ways. Tell me how what uh, how do you listen?
Well, first I have to sound the noise. I have to sound the noise that's in the way of my being able to listen.
Hmm.
And one of the reasons that I think so many of us sound and have been for ancient times from the very beginning was that we sound to get quiet. And that's what that means. It's like first I have to just sound the
Mm.
noise. And I also, some of us are noisier than others. And, you know,
Uh-huh. Got a lot going on up there.
got a lot going on. So I have to also work with mantras. I have to work with prayers. I have to work with I have to do a lot of things to give my thinking something to do and not to try to run my life. Because otherwise, all I'm hearing is noise. I'm already listening to what you're going to say. And so, what I can say, I can't pause. So, listening is a huge, it really doesn't, that word really doesn't describe what all that is possible. Because mainly, we don't spend much time emptying,
Right, right.
letting go. Let me let go of what I know.
I mean, it's like so I have no idea how to separate out, the judgment where
Mm.
because the second we hear somebody's voice, okay, especially as sound healers, it's like, oh, that's their voice, right? Or oh, that's their voice, right? There's
I like their voice better than their voice.
right. I'm a judgment person as far as voices,
Mhm, mhm.
but not as far as beings. I mean, it's interesting because immediately you start running this little script on what somebody's saying, and it's really interesting. So what would you say is the essence of listening?
The essence of listening. I probably wouldn't. Um, the truth is, I wouldn't. I probably don't know what that even means.
Uh-huh,
To
uh-huh,
be quite honest,
uh-huh.
uh, other than what I'm saying is that it's like we never step in the river twice in the same place. Yes. So when
Mm,
I look at this body of ours, I'm looking at a river. I'm looking at this entire system is liquid. So I don't know where I'm going to come to. And
Cool.
so I have to stay, I would say the essence of listening is being able to not know, be willing to not know, be willing to not need to know. My
Excellent.
needing to know will keep me from being able to listen,
Nice. Nice.
you
Perfect.
know?
Perfect. Okay. So tell us how you might work with emotions.
Mm. Well, many, many, many ways. That's been my entire life, actually. I've always, what I often heard in people's bodies from the time I was a child, and then when I became a therapist working with people on their body, was was the undigested material, the undigested matter in a body, and and I started seeing that was like those unexpressed angers, those unexpressed griefs, those unexpressed joys, those unexpressed, no place to express it, or not being, or not knowing how, or whatever. Um, but a lot of unexpressed stuff. So, stuffing it here and stuffing it there and stuffing it there, which ended up being so much of the reason for the body hurting and for so much pain and for so much anguish and even more anxiety. I mean, I could, I all of a sudden I could be being diagnosed with things that may not even be true. I need that expression of unexpressed stuff expressed. One of the problems I used to get into, David, as a younger woman doing this work, because I knew nothing. I knew nobody doing the work. I didn't have any teachers in that way. Um, there was so much I didn't know about myself. I was just literally responding to that which I was perceiving, and so what I started noticing is that what I did was I expressed for people that which was unexpressed in them. And that was the main healing work I did for a good, at least first, second, or third decade of my working. And yeah, because I've been doing this about 50 years or something now, which is just kind of absurd, but or not absurd. It's just still hard to really grasp, um, you know. And so, yeah, so expressing the unexpressed, and I think that was the listening ability that I had because I had been sounding my own body. I had been in my own laboratory for at least a decade. And when I work with people with sound, you're wanting to, it's like get in your own laboratory. Yes, study from all kinds of different principles and forms. Really become acquainted with all kinds of possibilities and ways of doing sound. But it's only going to be the honesty will only come from you actually exploring it yourself and yourself. Then you're like you talked about judgment. If I know that that's in me, I need to sound that and move that. If I deny that that's in me, then I'm going to find it everywhere. And it's going to come out in my sound with people because that place in us that's like feeling judged, we're going to hear it. We're waiting for it. We're waiting to be judged, you know? So I have to clean that up in myself. It's like I have to get really honest. What are my own judgments about my body, about my being? What judgments do I have about that kind of emotion? I remember because I have been around for a while and we've gone through so many different cycles, uh, not just with the sound work, but with our spiritual understandings, with everything, you know. And I remember different cycles of going through where the emotions were given a really bad reputation. Like if you should just rise above the emotions, never just rise above them. I remember that being, I think in the 80s, we really felt that if we got good enough, if we were spiritually fit enough, that we wouldn't have anger, we wouldn't have grief, we would just get over it. I don't know if you remember any of those cycles. We just get over it. Well, we don't get over it. It gets stashed somewhere. All of a sudden I'm constipated or I don't have much breath or my digestion's off. It gets stuck someplace. It gets, it doesn't go away. So I need to know about my own judgments and work on myself. Um, so I don't know if that was the question, but or the answer to that question, but I do know that our work with sound is a constant formula, of listening and observing and asking permission. Can I, do I have permission to sound here? Do I have that permission? You know, um, yeah. What is the rhythm of it? Rhythm's always been my most important ingredient. Rhythm to me is the emotional body. Color, rhythm, there's many ingredients for the emotional body, but what is the rhythm? What is the rhythm of that? You know? Um, yes, I might just start with the rhythm instead of my judgment about it. What is the rhythm of it?
So you're listening to the rhythm of their voice when they talk,
No.
or oh, okay. So what is the rhythm of what?
What is the rhythm of that pain you're talking about? What is
Oh,
the
okay.
rhythm in this
Okay.
part of the body? What
Got
is
it.
the
Got it.
rhythm when you're telling me about that problem you're having? What is the rhythm of it? What is the rhythm of your anger about that? What is the rhythm? Many possibilities of rhythm. What is your rhythm? It might be dumb, 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 you know? And so as soon as I sometimes connect with the rhythm, it will bring a more honest expression. When I was a very young, 2 or 3 years old, because I was always able to perceive frequencies, as you were mentioning, my dear mother got me a pair of tap shoes. And so I could tap out the rhythms of the emotion, my emotional body. And I could tap out the rhythms of the outrageous emotions around me. And then I had a tap teacher, Miss Marlin, who actually took us on a tour of mental hospitals. Can you imagine? Through Southern Illinois, Kentucky, and Missouri, we went to different mental hospitals. And so I was able to tap the emotions of the mental, emotional, physical bodies of the people that I was around. And I had a accompanist, the pianist. She followed me instead of me having to follow her. So so she was listening to what I was trying to uh, give a sound print of, giving a sound print of the emotion. So when we can give our children instruments to play, especially rhythm instruments, and let them move some of it. Let them move some of it. Let them tap dance. Let them move. Let them move. You know, let us move. Let us move. You know. So there's many ways of expressing the emotion. I write. I encourage people to write. Um, Rant and rave on paper, be politically, spiritually, socially incorrect. Get it out. It's another way of emptying. Get it out of, and then turn it over to something greater, so that the alchemy, give it to the alchemy. See, sound is a transformational tool, as you know. So if I express what is there, if I stay honest with what I'm perceiving, it will transform into some place that I would have never been able to have gotten to if I were going to try to make it happen. I don't know if that makes sense. Um,
So are you just, is it just expression and seeing where it goes? Or do you actually sometimes do the expression and shift it to another area? Because it sounds like you're just saying expression just to see where it goes, and
no,
that does it.
no.
No? Okay.
Uh, if I express what is there, it will go to where it needs to go. See, I let sound be the teacher. I don't try to teach sound. I actually trust that there is an innate wisdom in me that actually wants to be healthy. I acknowledge that there is an innate wisdom in everyone that I'm working with that is going towards health or wellness of some form or another. And so if I am trying to match what is in that body or in my body. And if I do that, it will spiral and curve into a place where it needs to be. It I would have completely, if I were trying to control it or make something happen or fix it in a way, I would truly, through many, many years, I would have diminished the possibility. There is so much possibility of intelligence in these systems of ours that we don't want to miss it. So it's not at random. People used to always say, "Oh, you're just doing that gibberish stuff." I'm sorry. I am literally reading. I have learned how to literally listen in that way, and that's what I try to teach people to demystify this instead of creating. I'm sorry. Go on.
Do you do this online with people?
Yes, I do this online with.
Oh, I got an idea.
Okay.
You don't have to do it if you don't think. Um, would you like to do something for me? I've got a lot of issues, you know.
I know we've been wanting to have a meeting with you. Um, but we also know you're extremely sensitive, and we wouldn't want to put you on the spot. Uh,
Oh no, I'm here to be
so,
vulnerable.
so I don't know if I don't know when you say that, what would I do with you, darling?
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Because you haven't asked me for a session,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't work with people. I mean, I don't just do it as a stage act,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Of
you
course.
know.
Of
So,
course.
uh, uh, but I could show you in my own body. How's that?
Okay, cool.
And if that starts ringing for you, so undigested material. I'm wanting to mature the emotional body. That that right. One of the things that we know about our beings is that probably the youngest place in us is the emotional body. I mean, look at our politics, look at our young emotions, young emotional body. And I do think that that's for many, many reasons I won't go into, but it's been for several thousands of years that it's been the least appreciated in many ways, that in the physical. So I want to follow just a layer. I don't know if this has taken us way off of where I was possibly maybe going, but I'm going to just give a demonstration of how I might mature an emotional imprint in my body. I'm going to come down, say to my little liver here, there's always something in the liver, some kind of anger, some kind of stored something in my liver. And I'm going to just listen to its rhythm. So I'm just following a layer. And when I talk about a layer, I am talking about the fascia layer of the body. I'm not trying to go into the depths of that place, but just one layer at a time to integrate it back into what I would call the fold of my body. I would say that the most important piece when I'm wanting to be able to start looking at my emotional body or sounding what is there I need to be very, very present. I need to be present in my body, whatever that might mean for you. For me, it is that I need to feel plugged in, literally, to what I'm standing upon, and that's the earth. Even though I may be on my second floor, third floor, penthouse, wherever I'm at, there is earth underneath this building. So I'm wanting to plug in. I'm wanting to remember that all of my nervous system, all of my neurons are at the soles of my feet, and that I am an electromagnetic body, and that I'm living on an electromagnetic field. And I want to plug in. Let me plug into that which I am. Let me rest into that which I am. Let me be supported by that which I am. Yes. So that's where I want to begin. I never want to really sound, I really don't want to even show up anywhere without having that kind of ground reaction force, I'm going to call it that, so that I can just reach down and be received. Because the more that I reach down, the more support there's going to be from my voice. As you were speaking about the voices, David, it's going to come from how much support do I have from my voice. So when I plug into the earth, I have the earth to support my voice. There's never going to be any stress or pain in my throat area, because I'm not using this. I'm using my feet. I'm using the earth. I'm using the earth, which then allows my breath to open, which then allows me to have some room for myself and for my voice. Um, so that's where I want to begin always. I also always want to begin with having some kind of a prayer, meditation, self reflection, being part of my daily life. As a sound person, if you are a sound person, or you're wanting to become one, or you are one, and you probably already have your own um, disciplines that you need. So as we were talking earlier about noise, David, is that I need to do quite a bit to quiet my noise. I personally work with a mantra. That's that repetition sound. I love the story that they talk about in India, where the elephant and its trunk going through the festival days, all dressed up in its beautiful flowers and laid like things, but it's raising havoc. It's tearing down the banana stands. It's moving all the necklaces, and it's hurting people. It's disturbing people. There now it's a problem. So the Dao, the person who takes care of the elephant, oh, let's give it a baton. Let's give it something to hold in its trunk. So now it has something to do. So now it walks through there in its beauty, in its giant beauty, but it's not. It has its trunk now has something to hold on to. And that's what my mind needs. So I have to give my mind many possibilities to hold on to something. So a mantra or prayers are a beautiful way of giving my mind something to occupy itself while I'm trying to mend and empty the noise. So so I'm looking at grounding. I'm looking at having a daily practice. I'm not speaking about just once in a while. So if I'm going to be a sound healer, and I'm going to actually be a person who's working deeply with my own emotions over those of others, I need to be taking care of myself. I cannot ask other people to do something I'm not doing. I won't know what it's like. If I do it, then I understand what it's like, because I hear my students sometimes, they'll say things like, well, I want to give you this sound session, but it's really, really weird stuff. Well, as soon as I start out like that, no, I have been doing this. I'm telling you, this works. I'm telling you, it has ability to transform whatever is going on. Sound is an alchemical tool. So I'm talking from a place of experience, not from a place of theory. So I want you to have that in your body, that your voice or your instruments is because you are practicing. You have a daily practice of working with yourself. And part of my daily practice for many, many years was working with the hum and working with emptying. Hum, empty, and hum. If I never see anyone again, if I can share those particular forms, because it keeps going on and on and on. in terms of going deeper and deeper and deeper into this system. Some of you have heard me say in the past that I as a very young woman, I met Dr. Ida Roth, who started Rothing Structural Integration. And I heard her speaking about how that one could go as deep into this physical form as one could go into the galaxy. Now, I'm maybe 19 when I hear her say that. I don't know what she means at all, but I know that I've heard something very profound, and it becomes a direction, a guidepost for me. And because she was talking about being able to go into this being, tissue layer at a time, fascia layer at a time, to keep unfolding, to keep revealing, to keep basically unfolding, because we get all kind of tucked in and we keep like a flower, we keep unfolding and unfolding, you know. And so when we're sounding, our sounding is a beautiful, beautiful way of unfolding that which has gotten buried in this way or twisted in that way through accidents, through traumas, through anxiety. And aren't we in that now? You know, I don't know anyone that is not feeling this turmoil, this paradox of all the turmoil of the unknowns. I mean, we are all affected. We have been deeply affected for the last 2.5 or 3 years, and now here we are, yet more, and here we are, yet more, and here we are, yet more. So I need, even with all that going on, more than ever, it's necessary that I really do what I'm saying, that I ground in, that I pray and meditate. Let that become literally. If I don't know how, I get a teacher, I get books, I talk to someone, teach me. Mainly, I just need to breathe. Let me sit down. Let me, when I'm sitting down, let me remember that that chair can fully support me, that I can rest. Let me rest onto this earth. There's a lot I can't do a thing about. What I can do about is let my body rest. Let me be received. Let me keep showing up as a voice of sanity or a voice of kindness. Let me be a woman or man of integrity and dignity in all that is going on. Let me not join the insanity. Then I'm not helpful. I'm not helpful. Actually, before I came on today, I was all over. Like, you should see all the papers around me. What could I talk about? What could I talk about? You'd think that I'd never ever talked about any of this or done any of it. It was like it was all out, out. And so I called up my FaceTimed my little 4-year-old grandson, and just to see his smile and just to hear him, I asked him to sing me a song, you know. And so inside of all that, I can be da da da, and then I go to the store and someone holds the door, or someone smiles, or someone says, "Hello, I'm so glad to see you," or you say, "Hello, I'm so glad to see you. You're looking so good. I hope you're well." Let me keep practicing kindness. Let me keep practicing kindness. Let me get out of me for a moment. You know, when I am not expressing, when I have so much undigested material, I rarely ever get out of me. It's all about me. Anything you say is about me. I take everything personally. Some of you may know this piece. I sure lived it for a long time. I'm grateful to have some freedom from it now, but I'm telling you, we can all get too full. And when I get too full, I need to be able to express. So, how might I empty? So, I don't need to know too much about what's going on with me, because the truth is, often I don't know what's going on with me. I mean, I don't need to know what's going on with me to empty. But often when I ask people, how are you feeling? And people ask me how I'm feeling, I don't know. How am I feeling? I'm thousands of ways. So I need to just move some stuff. Just move it. Move the day. Move the thinkings that's running through. All the different concerns. All the things that I'm truly mostly powerless over. So here's what emptying would look like. So maybe I'm having a little bit of, so maybe I'm having a little bit of anxiety or a little bit of nervousness or a little bit of fear a little bit of fear. I don't know anyone that doesn't have fear. Fear seems to be behind everything. I'm not going to get what I want. I'm going to lose what I have. Constantly. Constantly. Let me ground. Did I get to sound it? So I'm taking any of those words that are in my head. Oh, you're never going to be enough. You're never going to be. They just look what they're thinking. They practice. Oh, look at all the judgment. You should be together. You should be more together. You should not be thinking that or feeling that. Whatever your words might be, I'm going to take those words and I'm going to put them into sound, because sound will move them faster. Words have a lot of edges on them. Sound rounds those corners. So I want them out of my body, just a layer. So I'm going to empty. I'm going to empty what I'm calling that which is not mine, that which I just took on, that which I'm just remembering, just stuff. Because I just want to empty, I just want to sound the noise right now. So even together, let's just sound some noise. All right? Yeshala nana yala moso kata yala buhonda yala buho eleha loho onda yala yala swallow ho eleti. Yeshakota nana musata yala buho yala yala kata yala masata yala mayala basata na yi. Yala wala waye wana moyo yala ye waye yana. Yeshalo waye la waye ya wo no. And I just pause and see how that feels in my body. And as you noticed, it started spiraling in and wanting to come into what I call the hum. So then I would take it into my hum. Yeah. I want to say any questions about this. I keep forgetting, and there's nobody there. I hope there's somebody there. So the hum, it's going to come from my speaking voice. It's going to come from where I am right now. And I've already told you a little bit about that. That's like, oh boy, I feel so much better though from that empty. And let me tell you, I have more room. See, I'm needing more room. I get too full. That's what happens in stress, right? I get too full. So I just need to empty. I don't analyze it. I don't go, that sound meant this and then that. Whatever wants to come out, I give permission. I give permission to just making noise. It's like doing aerobics. It's like laughing. Laughing probably is one of the finest ways of emptying I know. And plus, it really, laughter and aerobic sounding, we're going to call this like aerobic sounding, is like jogging inside. It's getting, it's like getting that liquid, this body, like we talked about earlier, 80%, 90% fluid. And what happens when I'm in fear, what happens in trauma, what happens in anxiety, what happens in my anger, what happens with just too much, it's just too much. What happens in that is that my liquid starts becoming coagulated, congealed, congested. And so I'm going to make sounds, just like I did, which I invite you to do, to just get some movement going on inside of me. And if I'm in a great deal of fear and stress, anxiety, my mind is going to say, we're too tired. That's just asking too much of me, Vickie. I just can't do that. You don't understand. And part of it's true because that fear and trauma creates almost like a freezing sensation in my liquid system. I'm frozen. So I have to also, besides meditation, prayer, mantra, grounding on a daily basis, I also have to practice being willing. I have filled up very many cheap notebooks through my life. I'm praying to be willing, to be willing, to be willing, to be willing. Teach me how to be willing, to be willing, to be willing. I'm talking to myself. Teach me. I don't remember. Teach me. I can't remember. Teach me. I don't know how. Teach me. Let me become willing to be willing, to be willing to participate in my own life. Let me be willing. Because sometimes my willingness through different times in my life could be miles and miles away. So I have to call it home. Because, see, I'm trying to call myself home. While we're doing all that we're doing is to call ourselves home. Because all of these deep hidden emotions have some ways taking up a lot of my home. I don't have room for me. So I'm calling myself back home. So I have to practice. Please let me be willing. There was a man named Elias de Mohan who started the first sound school in the United States, I think in the late 50s, early 60s in Houston, Texas. And he used to work with color. He's the one that introduced me to the emotions and color. The old Theosophists were talking about it too, and it's ancient. It goes way back, way before any of that as well. But it was a nice it was a very good formula that he was giving for it, and and he'd often talk about red, the color red, of becoming willing. Red was will, red was power. And if sometimes you'd have to use reds. For some of us, it's way, maybe too much. We don't handle well so much. So then he'd put some yellow with it for a little bit more evaluation. And then you'd get orange. So I work a lot with orange. And I actually brought it up today, and I hadn't used it in years, but when I was a younger woman and I would be having to teach, and I was always fear, always fear. And I always say, "What am I doing? I'm standing up here and talking about sound, and nobody wanted it." And ooh, I was scared, so I would pretend, not pretend. I would spend time walking in rhythm to become willing, walking in rhythm to become willing, walking in rhythm to become willing, and I would go E-A-E-A-E-A-E-A-E-A-E-A-E-A, because the E was the red, the A was the yellow, and the was the orange in his system, the old Theosophist system. And so I just used it to try building that up in me. E-A-E, 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 E-A-E. So these work. Sound always was working. It always works. So you can use these vowels with color. And if you're interested sometime, um, well, they're in my book. They're in my book, Your Audible Body. Because I really did appreciate the work that he gave, because because he was saying that you can't have one emotion without the other. So it's not just anger, it's also, there's going to be fear in it, there's going to be judgment in it. So if I'm finding myself being overly critical, I might need to be able to do some yellow to bring it into more of my creativity. So I'm rushing that too much. It's a beautiful piece of work, so pardon me for rushing that. Just to maybe plant some seeds of the power of color, the power of the vowels, the power of sound, the power of your voice. So I'm wanting to do these aerobic sounds. I'm wanting to do laughter. I'm wanting to be kind of foolish, but laughter. And if I can't get to laughter, I just come in and go, ha ha, hey, 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 ha 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 ha. Act as if I'm laughing. Get that, because it's going to get that cortisol moving. It's going to change my emotional body, right? Ho ho ho! And this whole diaphragm is what I'm talking about right now. See if I can move myself into so you can see. So we know that a lot of people used to call this in the old mystery schools the emotional brain center. And so the old martial artists, they must have known all this as well. Those old Chinese, da 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 da, because they'd make these sounds, right? Ho ho hey hey he ha ha ho ho hey hey he ha ho ho hey he ha ha ho ho hey hey he. So I open up that center, because so much gets stuck and congested in that emotional brain center. Mm-mm. Have a little bit of tea here. David, you got any questions for me? Are we... Hela mama maye. Kayla Mosaton. So I'm emptying. I'm coming into my hum. And so the hum is going to be from the speaking voice. It's going to be how I sound right now. However, and we know, like David started this conversation about people's voices, their speaking voice. Oh, I like that one. I don't like that one. But also besides that, it the person's voice, my voice will tell you how I'm feeling, basically, how much sleep I've had, what's going on. That's why we often say, people say, I'm just doing fine. We'll go, you don't sound like it, you know, and because we know innately we understand. We may not be able to put it in words, but we know a whole lot about what's going on for each other by our voice. You know? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I take my speaking voice, and it may seem silly or childish, but it's the way I've been teaching it for a long time. And I say, my name is Vickie. So I would just start from my introduction of my name and how you would introduce yourself. And I take my name and I put it into a mixer, into a blender, get it all messy, and then I swallow it. Because the reason I'm saying this is because, see, I'm a three-dimensional body. You are a three-dimensional body. So we have a front, we have a sides, we have a back. We are asymmetrical. And I'm wanting to be able to have my sound match my inner shaping. Right? So I take my name, Vickie. Vickie, 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 and then I can take my hands. So I start feeding my body this hum, our hum, your hum. It's like a B vitamin. It's nurturing, it's soothing to this nervous system of ours. It also creates like a, a palette. It creates a place to start doing my work from, or letting me know what's going on in my body. So it's your speaking voice. It's that kind of honesty that comes from your speaking voice. So I take my name again, Vickie, 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 and you're noticing we're doing something that we don't usually do. We are taking the sound inside instead of projecting it out. So we are injecting it. I'm wanting to be able to use my hum to internally massage this body of mine. It's a beginning. It's a beginning of soothing. When I've worked with people, um, I've worked with people with a lot of trauma. It's been a big part of my life. People that have been raped, people that have been beat up, people that have been just misused, abused. And sometimes I can't do anything other than hum with them, just hum, get them humming, hum, hum, because the hum starts helping people come home. So I empty, I hum, I empty, I hum, hum. The hum starts bringing me home. Come on home. The hum becomes so strong after a while that it becomes so attractive. You're able to start attracting in those traumatic times, start attracting that which got left someplace else to be able to come home, to be able to come home. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Becomes a magnetic, stronger magnetic pull Let me bring home that which is mine. Let me bring home that which I lost. Because a lot of sometimes our frustration and anxiety is literally that we're not home, that we're not all home. And these places are like, I don't feel it. Let me bring home. So start maybe often. Start maybe often. You could start with just the hum. Let me just bring myself home. And then I can start seeing what needs to take place. How am I really feeling? Because often I don't know how I'm feeling. I need to empty just the clutter, just the stuff that took place because I was on the airplane with a couple hundred people, or I was in a crowd. I guess most of us haven't been too much of that lately, but just stuff that gets on me. Listening to too much news, that's a big one. You know, let me just sound that. Then I let me come into my hum. Then I may actually start seeing that, oh, I'm really not angry. I'm tired. I'm not really angry. I'm scared, you know. So I was, yeah, so I need to practice though. I'm going to come back to our daily. So daily, I want to find some kind of practice that I feel it doesn't, that will help me ground, that will help me settle, that will help me be honest. My own ritual, my own daily practice. What do I need to do? I have found a lot of need for with my clients to talk to them about nutrition. I had a friend who was hosting me for many years, and she suffered a great deal from manic depression and all kinds of different categories called depression. And but I would watch her sit across the table from me, taking cookies and then taking a bottle of whipping cream and spraying it on the cookies and eating it, and just spraying the whipping cream and just eating all the sugar. Now this was an extreme, but it may register for some of you. If I am eating sugar, 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 and maybe even bad sugar, and I'm wondering now, why am I so weepy and why am I so sad and why am I so depressed? It may not be that complicated. I may not be listening at all. I'm not feeding my body what it needs to have a healthy emotional body. If I'm always watching the news, I have another friend who's like, I can't even hardly pick up the phone any longer because all she does is watch the news constantly, one after the other. It doesn't change. And so she's always in an agitated, angry way and scared. Well, again, this is a diet. This is, again, my nutrition. This is nutrition. This is sound coming in. You know, I act like I sound, so, anyway. So I need to look at nutrition. I need to look what it is that I'm taking in. I need to look at the input that's coming into my body that may be the root of some of my distress. All right. But I do want to laugh. I do want to laugh. Laughter will absolutely, the stress hormone cortisone is reduced during laughter and that kind of aerobic sounding of the emptying. So remember this. This is health giving. This is health giving. Let us not take ourselves so seriously. There's a plenty of seriousness, but I need to move it. I need to move it. I wanted to read you a piece here, if I can find it. Again, are there any questions? Well, I sure love questions. Following the path of wellness. This is from Meister Eckhart in 1260. He was born. So following the path of wellness looks like following the path of discord. Find the shape, invite it home, allow the place to come into current time. Sound what is there. Bring the entire body along. Let my body be shaped by following the path of least resistance. Look for the soft spot. God comes through the wound. To get to God at the core of God at his greatest, one must first get to the core of himself at his least. Mm-mm. So if I'm not, one of the reasons that I'm really harping on this thing about getting yourself a daily practice or weekly practice or ways of taking care, self-care, is that during a time of serious traumas or stressors in my life, it is not a good time to try to learn how to do that then. So I practice, it's like keeping the muscles strong, keeping my bones, my body resilient for those times when I'm going to actually need it, seriously need it. So it's a daily practice. So I need to write, I need to sound, I need to be spiritually, socially incorrect. I need to let it out, and that's a lot what our emptying is about. Mm. So the physicality of this body, which we were talking about, is liquid, and that the emotions are living in this liquid terrain. And so I might think that I'm depressed. I might think that I'm angry. I might think that I'm sad, mad, what. But if I sound, you know, if I sound and move and breathe, I rearrange my liquid terrain, and which changes my perceptions. So I've watched this over and over in myself. I've watched this over and over with students, is that as soon as we give that which we are looking at, or feeling, expression, it changes. Sound is a transformational tool. Sound is an alchemical tool. So I just need to be in acceptance of it. So acceptance is a very big part of our sounding the emotional body. Because again, David mentioned this earlier about judgments. I need to know what my judgments are. Am I judging myself, about that particular emotion? If I was good enough, I wouldn't be feeling that, right? So I need to be willing to just keep sounding what is, because what is may not be what it's going to be in a few moments. I've watched this over and over and over in myself. But if I'm analyzing it, it hardly ever changes. If I keep telling you the same story over and over, you know that I probably need to empty it and see where the liquid falls now. Give me another perception. Give me another perspective. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Let me see here. David, you got any questions for me?
What about a really common one? What about grief?
Oh, grief. Yeah. Years ago, Kay Gardner and I, very, she's deceased now, but she and I worked quite a bit together in the earlier days, and we were at this big festival, and we created a wailing wall. And I actually have a mini one in my yard. And every time I've done residential trainings, I create a little wall of some form with stones or wood or some way that is a complete place of permission to let me just grieve. Let me just grieve. And again, there's plenty of reason and need for grieving. So part of but I'm going to still do emptying, humming, and in that emptying, or in that sounding of emptying, well, I'm going to grieve. That's going to be my emptying. I'm going to grieve it. And I let my body go into the position of it. Ishvielo asaye, ishviele niakota yena musata oh, 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 Eshilo, oh, Eshila mama, oh, Shaka, ye, oh, Ela mahaye, oh, Eshila haye, oh, Shatana moso abio, Etiala mahaye, isi, oh, Ela boho, oh, Eshalaba, oh, Eniala maha, oh, Eshikato ola masa yele yela oh Eliana moho yele yala ha aye oh ishi alohona ishi la de isotaya ishi la bio katono ishi la ha asato yo ishi la oh 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 Ela mama, ela mama, eshwilo hoyani, eyalo humale wele yalo konda, ehwalo hono ye. Elo yo lo ana ye we yo. Aloha yelo na ye wo ye. Ye la basa tonya. Ye la me yo we ya we ya we ya we ya. Mm, um, 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 And again, I stay very grounded. Inside of that, I took myself back in deeper and deeper. Let me plug into this earth. I cannot bear this by myself. Let me have support. Let me have support. Let me have support. I know a lot about grieving. Um, I know a lot about grief and what that means in terms of nearly up until about 5 years ago, I would say I know more people dead than alive. So I figured that part of my life this time is learning how to keep letting go, letting how to keep surrendering, and and the gifts that come from the surrendering are huge. But oh my goodness gracious, you think you're going to die first. Um, yeah. So we sound that. And we always come back to that hum, and I always come back into uh,
When you're doing some sound with someone, treatment with someone, do you do sound for them or do you get them to do sound as
well,
well?
yes, it what I through the years it's changed greatly.
Hmm.
Um, because when I first started, no one would sound,
Hmm.
and now you can hardly stop people from sounding. in contrast. Uh, but usually in the past, I will teach them to empty and I'll teach them to hum. But if I'm going to give them a session, I'm probably going to do it.
Uh-huh.
Because the reason is not that they couldn't, but they would probably just be doing what they already know. They would just be doing their story. And I got pained here, and then I got raped there, and then I got hurt there, and then I had that loss. They would just, what we would be sounding is what we already know. And what I'm looking for is what we don't know. I'm looking for, I'm going to where I don't know. And I'm going to what their innate wisdom wants to sound, not what my mind wants me to sound. Because that's where I hurt, because my knee, because of my hip. You know, am I making sense? Does that, you know, so I'm wanting to, so initially I sound so that they, because we're wanting to get honest and wanting to trust. Can I trust that there is this innate intelligence, wisdom in this body that wants to actually be in relationship with me instead of this large upper brain thinking it's running the whole show, you know? So my sounding, David, literally originates from the blues. Blues brought me to surrender. Surrender brought me to love. Love that birthed the possibility to live. Before love, there were blues. Blues always brings you to love if you follow the thread. So I'm not afraid of going into the blues because I'm going to follow that thread. And what I find until people understand how to listen to themselves in that way, they will just go into the extreme and it'll all become about my pain instead of saying, no, the body really wants to keep bringing it back home. It wants to take a thread at a time, tissue layer at a time. I'm not going into the core of all of your injuries, of past lives, etc. Just it's in a layer at a time so that there's not any need for my therapy to become something else that creates another trauma in me. You know, I don't know if that makes sense, but as a therapist and a body worker, I've witnessed this a great deal that we can become so impressed by our own stuff that we don't integrate it. It's too much for the body to integrate. The apertures are small, so I need to feed it one layer at a time. Actually, we get more that way, not less.
What I see when you're doing your treatments, it seems to be a common pattern where you do the sound and whatever happens, happens, and then you transition to the hum
Mm-hmm.
or to consistent, stable vowels, which is where the peace is. And that can be way deeper. You're actually not only doing hum, you're bringing it back to your hum connected to the earth. And so that's but one time when you were doing it, you then kind of went to the wisdom of a Native American, you know, uh, um, grandmother, and made that sound, which is really cool. So there's a lot of million variations on
There's a
that.
million variations, and
Mhm.
the beauty of it, David, is that I never need to know. I just need to follow and listen. See, I really don't say this as a metaphoric, like, but I let sound be my teacher.
Mhm.
I try to stay behind it, that sound frequency, and follow it. And it keeps opening up the possibilities of worlds that I would never ever find if I put it into a, now you make this sound, now you make that sound. I mean, it would work, but it's yeah. I was just I've worked a lot with trauma and I mean serious trauma where people are so frozen, and so we can be so helpful for people that are in such a frozen state. Um, I was working in Mexico, and it was during the time where so many men were being kidnapped and often never returned. Uh, and but in my class, one woman, her son had never returned, and then there was a young man who had been kidnapped and been returned, and his body was completely frozen. He never spoke, and but we did. were able to start teaching him because his body was completely, just like I said, frozen. But with our sounding, we can be so helpful. I don't have to go in and do it. Just say, so we're just starting to do those and get him to start touching himself. Because it would just literally start, just maybe barely, but start melting. Start melting so his body could get a little bit of fluid, a little bit more fluidity, because it was literally frozen from the terror. And so we have, and then, so our hum, I always come back to the hum, or I always come back to that, because that it's in all cultures. Every parent, every loving adult with any child was always going, oh, shh, 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 shh. They weren't saying be quiet, shut up. They were saying it's going to be okay. You're going to be okay. And that's what we need often to say to ourselves, you're going to be okay. And so we always want to sing a love song to this body. We always want to end it in any kind of work that, especially if I'm working with grief or sadness or anger, anything. Let me sing a love song. Let me sing a love song to my shadows. Let me sing a love song instead of always trying to fix it. Because there's something inside of there, that alchemy that takes place. Like you said, I went into uh, whatever, you heard of that healer woman. We've got all these healing women in us, all these healing men in us. I don't have to make her happen. She will come when it's her timing. you know and I know that I sound as if I'm not very scientific, but I think it actually is. Like, um um uh, I am from the Ozarks, and I guess it's how it is. So I'm just thinking about a woman that, and I brought this one out, a woman client of mine, and she had a lot of trauma, rapes and incest, and if you work with people, that's a pretty common thing. It's not an uncommon story. So, um, and so she ended up having lots of complications in her reproductive organs, and so it was advised that she get a full hysterectomy. And so after the surgery, we were working together, and so you can just get the possibility of all the myriads of sounds that were there when you ask, would I do this sounding or would she? And why, you can see why it might be important for me, because I have a little bit of objectivity, um, to be able to sound these layers at this time for her. So as we worked together after the surgery, first there were the rhythms of the physical pain, inlaid within the grieving memory of loss of the womb, the emotional loss of body organs, the loss of the menses rhythm, and the emotional loss and grieving of childbearing. Great anger and blame were present and revealed from years of incest. Psychological layers were twisted within her tissues regarding a belief that abuse caused reproductive cancers. We paused and listened as her innate wisdom revealed the faintest hush of possibility and capacity of an opening for rest and acceptance, if even momentarily, of a surrender to what is and the willingness to heal regardless of circumstances. So if if we weren't listening to all these different possibilities and interweavings, we might miss that willingness to heal, that the body, the psychological body, the emotional body, the physical body is so willing to always heal if it's listened to. And listening means, like, can I just follow what is there? And can I trust that if I follow what is there, it will take me into a beauty that I would have never gotten? And I'm just grateful that I trust that. I trust it deeply, and through the years, I've been able to actually teach people how to listen in this way. And yeah, yeah. So,
I have a unusual request.
okay,
You don't have to do it.
all right.
So I've seen many of your classes because I love sitting in on your classes, and and
Good.
uh, and I often see you releasing, right? Can you do the sound of who you are?
The sound of who I am?
Uh-huh.
What do you mean?
You may demonstrate?
Yeah, I don't know what you mean. I mean, I'd be glad to
Okay.
do it. I'll be
Okay.
willing to do it.
Okay. Let me do the sound of who I am,
Okay.
and then see how that
Okay,
resonates.
dokie.
So who are you?
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, I've never looked at it like that, but uh, that's beautiful. Okay, let me just see. Who am I? What is my sound print right now? Shalom, Shelamohona hana we kalwa sondo bohona yela ho yilitu kelamohona yena mohole ya shelahu elamohala hai elamohala onda ye ekolo le hubisiko onta ye eshikatonu onde boha aliyetu ya eshikatonu nilo boha aliyetu boha satona nishinilo buhule ishilabala buhule ya ishili yalui ayui ahui Yelohuna mahayo Yelamoho alehu esh Lemoho alash Lemoho shh Lelo shh Lelamo shh Lelamo inom inom you Ela maha toyo, esakato yeta toma, ela ha aye ekiata, ela maha aye lasa, ela moho alaha onda, ela boha lea katoyo, ela boha anoho aleha kato lieti. Ese lohano yena maha ye. Elo, Yeshakata ye. Oh, that's fun. I like that. I like that.
That was beautiful.
Oh, yeah. I found this piece. I don't know if we're done or not. If I've gone over my time, I'm not sure. But it's by Carl Jung, and he says, "Be silent and listen. Have you recognized your madness, and do you admit it? Have you noticed that all your foundations are completely mired in madness? Do you not want to recognize your madness and welcome it in a friendly manner? You wanted to accept everything, so accept madness too. Let the light of your madness shine, and it will suddenly dawn on you. Madness is not to be despised and not to be feared, but instead you should give it life. If you want to find paths, you should also not spurn madness, since it makes up such a great part of your nature. Be glad that you recognize it, for you will thus avoid becoming its victim. Madness is a special form of the spirit and clings to all teachings and philosophies, but even more to daily life, since life itself is full of craziness and at bottom utterly illogical. Man strives towards reason only so that he can make rules for himself. Life itself has no rules. That is its mystery and its unknown law. What you call knowledge is an attempt to impose something comprehensible on life. And it comes from the Red Book of C.J. of Carl Jung. And I was going to become a Jungian years ago. As a young woman, I was at the Jungian Institute in Zurich, and he still makes more sense than most folks to me. So, but I found that out. Found that, and I thought, well, I'm going to bring that forward today. Is our madness and not knowing. Can I trust that there is something greater than my knowing? That don't. It's like I always want to just say to younger people, especially, don't miss it. Don't miss thinking you have to always know. I never knew, and I still don't. And I mean, I'm so grateful I just said yes. So I really suggest you keep saying yes a little bit more, you know, instead of like, well, you know, I mean, I would have never learned about ley lines. I would have never gone and started planting and opening seeds and ley lines in the 60s throughout this country, Mexico, and Europe if I would have needed to have known. I listened. So I want, and I know that I'm not unique. I know that is that innate. I've worked with too many thousands of bodies. I know that wisdom is in us. So I speak to us today because we are at such a time that we don't have. I don't know how much luxury we have of that kind of exploring. Just acknowledge that there is this wisdom and start acting as if there is. you know, Even in my depression, even in my sadness, even in my griefs, even in my fears, you know, there are different colors that just let them have some expression. Let them be willing to be intelligent. Let me listen to them and follow them. And let me keep grounding. Let me keep praying. Let me keep meditating. Let me keep acting as if I am a daughter of this earth. Let me act as if I am supported by this earth, and I need to just let myself keep being supported. This is so crucial right now because, and turn off the television. And, um, but yeah, bless our hearts, huh? Bless our little blooming hearts.
It's always a pleasure hearing your voice.
Mm, mm, mm. Well, I thank you for all the assistance you gave me today of just talking to me because I do well when people talk to me. Then I have something to say. Otherwise, I don't have anything to say.
Cool, cool. Well, thank you so much. Any final words before we play the closing video?
Um, you know, uh, trust, trust yourself. Don't hurt yourself. If you're doing any kind of sounding and you start hurting, that's your body's wisdom saying no. You're going the wrong direction. Back off. Go a different direction. Slow down. It's giving you information. We're not here to sonically tear tissue. We're not here to make something happen. We're here to reflect what is. And what is then starts changing. Let me be in acceptance on a daily basis. Since I was 11 years old, I've been saying to myself, and some of you have as well, I know, please teach me how to love unconditionally this being that I am. So that is a huge practice, a huge daily practice. Because if I can unconditionally love myself, warts and all, then I can unconditionally love you, warts and all. You know, and that's a daily work, though. It is for me,
Nice.
daily work. So,
Well, I'll end it with I love you unconditionally.
I love you unconditionally. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to do this, David. And I'm grateful that you're doing the work you're doing and that you're providing these teachings for people. And also, I'm open to discussion. You know, we all want to be used. Use your elders, talk to us, really. Um, because, as much as anyway, I'm open to a conversation if anyone wants to have a conversation with me.
Cool.
Okay, blessed be. Thank
Thank
you.
you.